Hey guys, it's me Adi from Pixel Decorations. Welcome to the series featuring Mocha Pro from Borisfx. We'll start from the basics and work our way up to some seriously advanced techniques. If you're into the VFX and want to level up your skills, just stick around, this is gonna be fun. Let's get started. So this is the part 1 of Mocha Pro series. In this part, I'll give you an idea about the Mocha Pro UI, its features and some of its mode of operation. So without wasting further time, let's get into the Mocha Pro plugin directly. Drag it to the timeline of your clip, and in order to launch the plugin, you have to click the Mocha icon, which will be launching the Mocha plugin. So when the first time when you launch the Mocha AE or the Mocha Pro plugin, you will be welcomed by the Essentials panel, which is having some of the basic functions you can use in Mocha plugin, like the tracking and kind of stuffs. And on the top, you can see file, edit, track, and various options that we'll be discussing throughout the video. And below that, you can see a save button. After all your work is done inside the Mocha AE or Pro plugin, you can click save or just close it, and you'll see a prompt with save or don't save icon. And this is a move tool you can use to move around your tracking points, or you can say the splines. And second one is a insertion tool that you can use to add points in between your splines in the same layer. And the third one is a hand tool, which is also called the pan tool, which you can use to pan your video. And the next one is the magnifying glass, or you can say the zoom tool, which you can use to zoom into your subject to get a clearer tracking and move the points so precisely. And fourth one is the main tool in this Mocha plugin, the entire Mocha plugin, that is the create X spline tool, which you can use to create splines around where you want to track. You can long press the X-Spline tool to get various other options, including the X plus, which you can use to create another spline set inside the same layer without creating a newer one. And the next one is the magnetic spline tool, which you can use to create the splines which will be automatically aligning to the edges of the subject, which will make your workflow more easier. And the next one is the rectangular spline tool, which as it is say, it will create a rectangular spline tool which you can later modify as per you want, and you can use the insertion tool to add more points in between this. If you long press this, you'll be getting various other tools too. And the next one is the elliptical spline tool, which creates an elliptical spline. And the next one is the show planar surface, and this is one of the other main tool in this entire Mocha plugin. And let's create a new one so that you can get a better idea of what it is. So this is going to be a screen where you will be replacing your video or whatever you're going to use this plugin to replace the footage, or to replace the screen for what you are using this plugin for. And you can use the grid tool to get a perfect idea of the perspective of your planar surface. And next one is the expand the planar surface to the entire frame, which will be filling up the entire frame of your video. And that's all about the top panel of the Mocha UI. Next comes the layer section. In the layer section, as usual, you can see some basic settings that you are familiar with, like the visibility settings and the gear icon. Imagine we have multiple layers in this section and we only want to track the mid layer. So we can disable the gear of other two layers so that only the mid layer is being tracked or being currently operated. And next one is the spline color, which you can use to change the color of the spline. Imagine working in a red background with the red spline. That is not going to work out. So you can use this tool to change the color of your spline, which will be useful in some scenarios as per your workflow. So next is the fill color or your matte color. You can use that to change the color of your matte. So now you won't be seeing any change until you turn on the matte inside the layer section, the mattes and the matte. And in between you can see that the color is changed to red. And the fill layer is more useful in scenarios like rotoscoping and other advanced techniques. We'll be getting into the advanced techniques later in this series after clearing some of the basic uses of the Mocha plugin. And below that you can see some option to create the group, the layer and the delete, like the basic option. Under that you can see some essentials and layer properties, which determines whether you're going to track the translation, which means the X and Y axis of your track. And the next one is the scale, which determines whether you are going to track the scale of your subject while tracking in Mocha plugin. And follows the rotate, skew and perspective. And the Mocha plugin, the track motion option work in an orderly manner, means that you cannot skip the rotate and directly jump to skew without turning on rotate. And the same is applicable to the perspective. And below that you can see the track forward, track backward and the stop tracking option. And the next one is link to track, which we'll be covering later in this part of the video when we are doing the actual work inside the Mocha plugin. And now let's jump from the essential panel to the classic panel, which shows all the options inside the Mocha Pro. Some of the options listed in the Mocha Pro plugin may not be available in the Mocha AI plugin unless you purchase the full version of the Mocha Pro plugin. We'll be covering the other Mocha Pro features in later part of this series or in this part of video as we continue to work inside the Mocha Pro using the footage that we are going to work on. And there are some other functions left that we'll be covering in the later part of this video. So now let's see the working of Mocha Pro plugin in real time. So considering the first part of this video as a beginner friendly one, I'll be starting from the basic functions of the Mocha Pro plugin, that is tracking and replacing the screen of a particular video. So for this particular video I have selected a stock footage which is having a little bit of screen shake and some occlusions from the hand. So the first part of this series is separated in two different subparts, in which we will be covering the two different ways of replacing screens in a two different scenarios. The first one is going to be the easy green screen replacement and the second one is going to be a little bit tougher one. So let's get into the Mocha Pro plugin by launching it from the Mocha launch button. I'll be using the essential panel so that the beginners can also follow along this video. So let's start this part by analyzing the video. So in this section of the video, we can see that our tracking might get a little bit distraction or the occlusion from the hand of this person. We are going to use a different strategy to replace the screen. So the distraction from the hand is not going to be a big deal as of covering the first sub part of this part 1 video. So for replacing the screen of this first part of the video, we will be using the basic techniques. So let's start by creating a spline around our subject that we want to track. So after creating this spline around your subject, adjust it as perfect as possible to get a better tracking. After adjusting this spline, you can track your subject. You can either track the frame by frame or just use the track forward button. So tracking has finished and so far it is looking good. For this particular part of the video, the hand occlusion is not going to be a big part. And now comes the main part of this tracking. After your tracking is done and everything is adjusted and your tracking is looking perfect, you can create a planar surface. Planar surface is the place where you are going to replace the footage with the screen. And make sure that the planar surface fills up your screen. And you can see that we have adjusted the planar surface and we overlapped some of the features of our subject. For this particular part of video, that's not going to be a big deal. And make sure to rename your layer so that it makes your workflow easy after saving it on the Mocha Pro plugin and when we go to After Effects. After everything is done, just click this button to save or you can click the close button and you will be prompted with a menu to save or don't save. You can click the save button and now the data is being transferred to the After Effects. And now import the footage to the timeline that you want to replace the screen with. And now this is the main part. In order to replace the screen with your desired footage, your footage should be as of the same size of the parent composition. So make sure to go to the parent composition settings and check out the width and height of the composition. And right click the footage that you want to replace the screen with and select pre-compose and move all the attributes into the pre-compose layer. Now open the pre-compose layer, go to composition settings and make sure that the width and height of the composition is as same as the parent composition. If that is same, just click OK and now you have to fill the footage with the composition. In order to do that easily, right click the footage, go to the transform and select the fit to composition menu. Now you can see that the footage is being stretched and looking a little bit weird. That is not going to be a big deal when it comes to Mocha. Now for the time being, we can hide this layer. Come to a main composition or the footage, come to the effect controls and click the drop down menu of the tracking data and click the create tracking data button. Now you have to export the tracking data into the footage that you want to replace the screen with. So select the layer export and select the replaced footage or the footage you want to replace the screen with. And you will be seeing these three options in the basic Mocha AE version and you will be seeing the CC power pin option in the Mocha Pro version. We will be selecting the corner pin support motion blur. After selecting all the options and settings, click apply export. And when we unhide the layer, you can see that our footage is being tracked perfectly. And you can see that our footage is being tracked perfectly into this subject without any other complications. So as of this video, as I have told in the starting of this video, we will be applying a different strategy. So for the time being, let's bring the replaced footage below the main composition and select our main composition, hide the Mocha Pro plugin and from the effects menu, Search for keylight effect and drag the keylight into our first layer. And from the screen color picker tool, select the green color from the footage. And after selecting the green color, we can notice that we lost some of the details from the top portion of this video. And because this video is not having that much of motion, we can easily recover it. Just duplicate the main composition and from the rectangle tool, create a mask around our main subject. And select invert option. And make sure to delete the keylight effect from the duplicated composition to recover the color details. And like that, you can see that we have recovered the color from the top portion of this video. And even after applying the keylight effect, if you are still seeing some of the artifacts around the edges of the screen or somewhere else, you can use the key cleaner effect to rectify it. Play with the settings in the keylight effect and you can recover most of the details from your video. And now you can see that our keying is done and our tracking is perfect. Now let's see a full screen preview of our tracking. Now that is all with the first sub part of this part 1 video. So this is the section 2 of the part 1 video where we have to track the screen. But we don't have a green screen in this video and we have to deal with the hand occlusion to get a better result. So let's get into it and open Mocha. As in the previous video, let's start by tracking the motion of this phone. For that, let's select the spline tool or you can go with the rectangle tool. For this one, I am selecting the spline tool and creating my own rectangle. Let's do a rough tracking of the phone to get a better idea of how the track is going to be. You can see that without enabling perspective, I had accidentally tracked a little bit of the frames backward. Now we have to do it again to get the newer trackings. So enable the perspective and all other motion features and let's track backward first. So the backward tracking is looking pretty much solid and there is no drifting of the splines. Now let's try tracking forward. And the forward tracking is also looking good. We are not getting any drift all over the video. So now let's rename this layer as background tracking. I'll be using the letter T for tracking. Now let's create our main tracking screen or the screen that we use as a mat for replacing the video. So select the explain tool and we have to create a precise marking over the screen without leaving any other points. So this is going to be a time consuming process, so I'll speed up the video to save your time. Now you can see that I have created a perfect spline around the screen that we have to replace our footage with. Now this is the main part. We don't have to track the screen separately because we have already made a tracking of our background that perfectly matches and tracks the perspective and everything about our screen. So we just have to link the layer 2 that is our screen. I'll just rename it as screen. We have to link the screen to the background tracking. In order to do that, go to the layer properties and select the link to track to the background T that is background tracking. And you can see that our timeline has turned to the violet colors. That means the screen layer has got the tracking data. Let's see how it is aligned to our screen. And you can see that our screen is perfectly tracked to the screen of the phone. And in between you can see that if a finger is coming in front of the screen that we have to deal separately because like the previous one we don't have a green screen to replace the footage with. In order to deal with that, we have to track the finger separately. So find a reference frame where the finger is completely visible and you have to draw a separate spline around the finger to track it separately and use it as a mat to place it over our footage. So let's hide both of these layers and create a mat. Now let's try tracking it backward first. And now you can see that our finger has gone out of the screen and we only need to track this much because further backward we don't want the tracking data because our finger is no more coming into the screen. Now let's go back to the reference frame and track forward. If you want to make changes in between you can do it without any problem. Now you can see that our finger is perfectly tracked all around the video, and we have left this place where we don't want the tracking of the finger because it is out of the frame from the phone. Now that our tracking is done, let's smoothen out these splines to get a seamless mat of our finger. Select all of these splines by pressing Ctrl A, and by dragging inside we can get a smooth spline. Now let's turn the mat of this layer and check how it is doing. You can see the finger is perfectly tracked, and we are pretty much done inside the Mocha Pro for this section. If you want, you can save it from here or just close it and you'll see a pop-up saying save or don't save. Now let's come back to the After Effects and do the rest of the things in this layer. So the first step is to create a duplicate of our main video. Press Ctrl D or Command D to duplicate your video, and from the project menu, import the footage that you want to replace with the screen. And as I said earlier, you have to make sure that the footage you want to replace with the screen is as of the same size of the composition. In order to do that, you have to pre-compose the footage and move all attributes to the composition and open the pre-composition. Select the clip and right click, go to transform and click and select fit to composition. And you can see that the video is now filled to the composition. Let's come back and now the main part starts. So for the time being, let's hide this layer and come to the layer that you just duplicated and come to the effects controls. From the effect control, we have to check the mat that we just created. In order to do that, just check the view mat option, and after clicking the view mat, you can see the screen is visible, but the mat of our finger is still missing. In order to bring that, you have to click the visible layers, and you can see that our background tracking and our finger layer is still hidden. And in this situation, we don't want the background tracking, as it was just a rough tracking to link the screen to that tracking. We only want the finger layer and the screen layer. So let's select both of them and click OK. Now you can see that our finger mat is also here. And just expand the tracking data layer and create a tracking data. Now you have to select the screen, not the background tracking. It's because we have set the planar surface to the screen, not the background tracking. So that make sure the screen layer is selected and click OK. And come to the layer export. Let's collapse the matte layer, and from the layer export option, select the footage that you want to replace with and select whichever option you want. If your main video is having some motion blur, you can select the corner pin motion blur or the normal corner pin or the CC power pin. For this one, I am selecting the corner pin that supports motion blur and click apply export. Let's make the layer visible, and you can see, and for the time being, let's hide the mid layer. We want the layer to be visible, but let's do it later. And you can see that the tracking is perfectly done and it cannot be more better. And now we have to bring the clip inside the phone screen. In order to do that, first we have to create an AE mask from the matte layer. We just only took a preview of the matte, how it is looking, just like this. Oh, wait a second. And just like this, we only took a preview of our mat. Let's uncheck the view mat layer, and from the visible layer, just make sure one more time whichever layers are selected. Click OK and create AE mask, and make sure to do that in the duplicated footage and create AE mask. Now you can see that a AE mask has been created around our screen and a mat for our finger. Now let's unhide both of these layers and expand the duplicated footage, expand the mask layer, and you have to make sure that the screen is above our finger layer and change the blending mode of the finger mask to subtract. You won't be seeing any changes now until we select the track matte option from the footage you have to replace with, and you have to select the duplicated video layer. Now you can see that our video is inside the phone. Let's collapse everything and see a preview. You can see that our finger is on the top of the screen and everything is tracked and matching perfectly. Now you may have a question that why we changed the blending mode of the finger mask to subtract. Let's try it with none, or let's try it with add. And you can see that our finger is still below the phone's layer. Let's see why we did that. Let's hide the background layer and let's see this layer. Now you can see that there is no change. We can only see the phone screen inside the phone, inside the display of the phone. Let's try changing the finger layer to subtract. You can see that our mask is already over the phone, but but the finger is not visible. Let's change it to subtract. And you can see that there is a negative space created around the screen in order to bring the finger from the main clip into the display. Now let's unhide the main layer and just play the video again. And you can see that finger is on the screen and the video is inside the display and everything is tracked and everything is perfect. In order to bring a little more realism, let's expand the screen layer. Let's bring the mask feather between 0.5 and 1. I'll just give 0.7. That is looking perfect. You can see that it brought up a little bit of realism to the screen and brought up a feeling of the video is really inside the display. If you want, you can use the match grain from the BCC. And the BCC match grain is a Borisfx Continuum plugin. Let's drag it to our footage that we replaced the screen with. And you can see that the grains has been created. Let's change the grain size to 50 and the grains filter to somewhat around 63. That is looking perfect. Let's check the before and after results. Before, there is no grain. If you zoom in a little bit, you can see the grains, and this is after the grains. That is bringing up a little bit of realism to the screen. Now let's collapse everything and take a full screen preview of our tracking, how well it is done, and press the tilde button on your keyboard to get a full screen preview and change it to, let's see, 100. Let's bring it a little bit up. Let's get a full screen preview of our work. And that's it, guys. Our tracking is looking better and the realism of the video inside the screen is looking better and the mask of the finger is also looking better. And if you want to make it look much better, you can add various other composition effects to your clip and you can make it much better. And we come to a conclusion of our part 1 of the Mocha Pro series. Hope you all enjoyed it. So if you watched it this far, make sure to drop a like and subscribe so that it creates motivation to make more videos like this. And if you want the links to purchase any Borisfx plugins like Mocha or the Borisfx Continuum and various other plugins, make sure to check the link given in the description. If you use the link given in the description to purchase those products, you will get a flat 15% off on all Borisfx plugins. And if you have a doubt or any other feedbacks, please make sure to drop a comment on this video. I'll be checking and giving reply to each and every comment. So that is all with the part 1 of the Mocha Pro series. The main point is this video was made mainly targeting the beginners. So this is the basic of the Mocha Pro version. We'll be exploring the advanced level of Mocha Pro in the coming series. So don't forget to turn on the bell icon so that you'll be the first to watch the video when the video is uploaded. And not only Mocha Pro, we'll be exploring various other plugins from Borisfx like the Continuum, Silhouette and many others. And that's all for part 1. See you in the next video. Until then, it's me Adi from Pixelated Creations signing out.